4 fatal flaws for the AFC, NFC championship teams. For the Rams, what? And you've already hinted at it. I know what it's going to be. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Rams. It's special teams play. They've struggled all season long. They lost a game in Philadelphia. We remember the image at the end of the game. They're lining up for a field goal to win it. Instead, it turns into a big man touchdown for Philadelphia. They lost the game in Carolina before the playoff game. That was also close. But they lost the game in Carolina, turnovers and special teams errors. So special teams error against the Seahawks in that Thursday night game. I think that is the fatal flaw of the LA Rams, because everywhere else, Mike, they're pretty damn good, but special teams is lacking.
This is one that gives me shakes because it takes me back to the early 70s when the Vikings had a great pass rush, but their defensive linemen weren't sufficiently stout to stop the run, so they were run over, through, and around by Larry Zonka in Super Bowl VIII, Franco Harris in Super Bowl IX, and I think the one flaw here, and this is an outgrowth of doing the Picks podcast with Chris, and we talk it through, and I get the benefit of his perspective, and he's absolutely right. The Rams' defensive line, generally speaking, wall to wall, not necessarily big enough to withstand a running game, which means if the Seahawks commit to the run, that run defense of the St. Louis Rams, LA Rams, what the hell? LA Rams. I'm trying to forget that logo. So I'm going to revert to the St. Louis Rams. And we're talking about teams moving and stuff. That's my excuse, other than just saying something stupid. But the LA Rams rush defense is a potential fatal flaw if the Seahawks commit to running the ball.
No, I agree. I agree with that. But although they're able to cover it up a little bit with Chris Shula as a head coaching candidate, I don't know if he's going to wind up with the job, but he's done a really good job of masking that issue with them, because they are able to come back with a great pass rush. And so you don't always pay attention to the Rams, being a little lighter on the defensive line, because their pass rush makes up for a lot of it.
And hey, keep that offense off the field, run the ball, chew up the clock, shorten the game. Don't get into a shootout with the Rams. That may be a difference for the Seahawks. All right, what's their fatal flaw?
Well, it's pretty obvious on this one. Even though I like this guy, I like his story. Sam Darnold is an example of sometimes you put a franchise quarterback in a situation where the franchise itself is not ready to support him. And that was the story when he was in New York. That was the story in Carolina. And he started to figure it out later in his career. Had a nice year last year for the Vikings as well. But he leads the league in turnovers. He's got 20 turnovers. So that's going to be a problem. When we talk about these close games, I just said it's going to come down to one possession. You can't be giving them extra possessions, and I think that's the one thing with Sam Darnold that the Seahawks don't feel so great about, and he doesn't feel great about.
You already mentioned they need to commit to running the ball, and they don't have Zach Charbonnet, so that's a problem. But I also think the potential fatal flaw is how reliant the passing game is on Jackson Smith and Jigba. That he's got such a massive percentage of the production. And we saw, even though the Vikings were shut out and embarrassed by the Seahawks, the Vikings kind of showed the rest of the league that just here's how you take away JSN and where do they go from there. And I don't know how fatal it is, but in combination with Sam Darnold in a big game, having one guy be such a big part of your passing game, that could all combine to be a major problem for the Seattle Seahawks. All right, let's flip it over. Oh, we're gonna break. I see the instruction. With all that said, what is the Broncos' fatal flaw? What will Sean Payton have to overcome to advance to the Super Bowl?
Well, Sean Payton, I think, Mike, I know he's a head coach. I think he's the best quarterback coach in the last 30 years. He identifies quarterbacks who could do well. He empowers quarterbacks. He has found a number of them from the shadows and from the margins and put them into pretty high-profile roles. However, he's not a running backs coach, and their run game is not good. I don't know if J.K. Dobbins returning will give them a boost, but last week, Bo Nix was their leading rusher. He ran it 12 times. He was their leading rusher last week, and they're going to need it desperately to support Jarrett Stidham. That is their fatal flaw. Their pretty paltry running game.
And Peyton has been very circumspect about J.K. Dobbins' potential return. He suffered a foot injury in that Thursday night game against the Raiders we talked about earlier where they got booed. He thought it was a hip drop tackle, and there wasn't a flag, there wasn't a fine, and regardless, it's an injury that has kept him out. Maybe he'll be back, maybe he won't. I think they opened the practice window, but we'll see. But, yeah, without him, the running game hasn't been the same. I just think the fatal flaw is this overall sense that their offense is sluggish. And it's not any one thing. It's just everything. And they almost scored despite themselves. And I know, hey, if it wasn't for Sean Payton, like this collection of players wouldn't be able to do anything. I just wonder where we go from here with the construction of the roster, year 3 for Bo Nix, because it feels like their defense, or Vance Joseph, I think Vance Joseph probably going to end up being the head coach of the Cardinals if he wants it. I don't know that I'd want it, but if he wants to be a coach again, I think that window is going to open for him. Maybe the Browns, I don't know, but the defense has been a big part of things for the Broncos this year and helped them get to where they are as the number 1 seed. All right, the Patriots' fatal flaw. What do you have?
I would say the left side of their offensive line. When they go against these grown men, these defensive ends who can really get after the passer, the Chargers did it to them. The Texans did it to them last week. And I think the problem is, Mike, you have 2 good players who I think are playing out of position. Will Campbell's the left tackle right now. In a few years, I think he'll be their left guard. And Jarrett Wilson is their left guard right now. In a few years, I think he'll be their center. So these guys just playing slightly out of position. It shows up against elite competition. And I think the Patriots obviously hopeful it won't show up on Sunday in Denver.
The dreaded short arms for Will Campbell. Remember that was the thing last year in the run-up to the draft, and he was very upset about it because what can you do? It's not like you can make your arms longer. You just have to make the case that what you have works. I don't want to say Drake May's the fatal flaw, but Drake May's inexperience in huge games, is that too long to fit on the screen? I mean, this is a huge, huge game, and he hasn't had a game like this on the road. You mentioned the fumbles earlier. I got to see it to believe it. He's checked a lot of boxes this year. He's probably going to finish second for the MVP voting. I'm not supposed to say who I voted for, even though the wagers are all off the board. They don't want us to say who we voted for until after the awards are announced. I may have made Drake May my MVP. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been too long ago.
You know why I'm laughing?
But this is a new thing. What? Why?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about your line, what you said before. I'd quit. I'd quit, but I know I won't because I know they want me to.
Yeah. And they'd fire me, but they won't, because they know I want them to. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.